Hi. Welcome to the BlueMilk.
You want to do that again?
Hi. Welcome to the BlueMilk podcast, where we talk about anything and everything Star Wars related. I am one of the hosts, BJ. He's coughing, so I'm going to you.
How podcasters die. Stage 1. I'm drinking.
I'm dying.
Yes.
Slowly at the inside.
And as per usual, we try to talk about anything and everything Star Wars related. Usually we come in with a topic or two and discuss the minutiae and intricacies of Star Wars and its lore. What do we have today, gentlemen?
What? Oh, fine. Hang on, let me grab it up real quick. Do 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 do.
How to be prepared.
Hey, I have the timer on my phone. Alright. Ready for this?
This is going to be a really interesting topic because he had to look it up to know what it was.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So imagine if Anakin defeated Kenobi on Mustafar and Padme lived. Do you think...
Those two are not
Okay.
connected, but okay.
Do you think that Anakin / Darth Vader would overthrow the Emperor? And how long do you think if he does overthrow?
I don't think he even would have made a good Vader.
If Palpatine or
if Padme had lived and he had killed Obi-Wan, he wouldn't have made a good Vader because everything would have been so happy. There would have been he wouldn't have had near the anger he had or the sorrow he had.
Yeah, but he also killed his best friend.
So? He would have been happy because he won.
Well, to be fair...
He thought they were having a thing.
Affair.
So he might end up chopping her legs off at the end anyway. And if he realized she had kids, he might have chopped their legs off.
No. Because Anakin...
He would have cut the cord.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do this.
Like cutting daisies.
No, that would the heads.
Yeah,
that's
well,
popping the heads
off. Do you think Palpatine would have killed Padme and the kids?
He wouldn't have because he would have been dead.
He would have taken them and raised them as, well, essentially his kids, but raised them under the dark side.
One of them.
At least one of them.
And Anakin would be dead at this point?
No, he just would have been useless.
I don't think he would be useless. He was still very powerful with the Force. So...
You asked me...
Alright.
What I think. I just told you what I think. Don't tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Dick.
I'm just saying that he was powerful in the Force, so I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be useless.
He would have been useless. His whole demeanor would have changed had he won that fight. He would not be the same Vader that we know now. There's no way.
So, you have to take into consideration that when him and Obi-Wan were fighting, they were the primary igniter for their fight was the fact that Anakin thought Padme was cheating on Anakin with Obi-Wan. So, if he defeats Obi-Wan, then he still has all of that rage that he would have still had towards Padme. The question is whether or not he would have killed her himself right then and there, or just left her on Mustafar.
Carve his initials in her face. Anakin was here. Vader was here. Anakin was here. Vader was here. Yeah, that was horrible.
You don't think because she was about to give birth or anything like that, he would not...
Well, first and foremost, you have to look at the reason why Padme died in the first place, which was, according to Star Wars,
broken heart.
She died from a broken heart.
So if she was banging Obi-Wan, and she did love him, that's still possible.
Yeah.
And they did it on the way to Mustafar.
Oh, yeah.
That could have happened.
Yeah. That's why he was standing there. Just saying.
Regardless, Anakin, he would still be Vader, and he'd still have a lot of anger. I would just see him as not killing Padme. And at that point...
He wouldn't have gotten that awesome suit.
Well, he actually could have. I mean, honestly...
Chop off his own legs?
No, the suit is just fine. You're thinking of all the cybernetics that he had.
Oh, yeah.
The suit isn't all cybernetics.
He would have been a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah.
And he would be able to do force lightning. More often.
Force what?
Force lightning.
Oh. Force sliding?
He
What
never
the fuck
did
is
force
that?
lightning.
But he could now that if he didn't have any cybernetics.
Well, I mean, he still had the one hand.
still
that
could.
was
Yeah,
missing.
but the other hand he would be able to do.
Yeah, that's true.
He only did it once, technically, in the old Lucas canon. That there was, he did use lightning once, and it, like, fried his entire, like, servants and stuff. Yeah, it was a good time.
Huh.
Yeah.
In, like, one of the books?
In one of the comic books, and he was in a cave, and Luke and Leia were there, and Luke was, like...
And the Swampa showed up. It was a nice little party they had. Yeah.
But yeah, it was... Yeah.
Yeah. So,
We're just gonna go through... Nope.
if he had defeated Obi-Wan, he would still have the vast majority of his limbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which means he wouldn't be... He also wouldn't have been cooked by lava, so... I think the reason why he declined in the power of the Force was because of all the cybernetics and the fact that he was heavily cooked by lava. So if none of that had happened, I do...
Baking 30 years in leather.
Well, he could have still had the leather suit. He could have still had the Darth Vader suit.
Yeah, but it would have been more for cosplay than anything.
No, because it served a purpose.
No, I'm sure Padme would have enjoyed the leather.
No, because I honestly think those two wouldn't have been together.
Don't think so?
No.
He would have said, fuck you, I'm gone.
Yeah, he would have left her. Because he still couldn't trust her after that, because he would still have the anger of believing that she had cheated on him with Obi-Wan.
But then there was always... That would have been a little bit more interesting that he would know that there was a kid out there, instead of thinking that the child had died.
Well, I could actually see him taking the kids from her.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And raising them himself.
Yeah.
Or one of them, at least.
Well, again, that would have
He only knew
Palpatine.
Well, Palpatine I could see taking one and holding
Come
it
to
hostage.
Granddaddy Palpy.
Well, the thing that I would see
Come
is...
sit on Palpy's lap.
Well, the thing that I would see is, like, Palpatine having one, just so that he could hold it hostage.
Yeah?
So to guarantee that Vader wouldn't try to overthrow him. Because he's like, I have your kid. One of them, anyway.
Yeah.
That would have really changed the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Interesting.
I could see Palpatine, like, essentially, he wouldn't treat the kid as like a hostage or anything. I mean, I'm sure he would like corrupt it and, you know, bring it up in the ways of the dark side of the Force and everything like that. Because as we now know, both Leia and Luke were Force sensitive. So I could see Palpatine training one as kind of a pseudo-apprentice in some manner, but at the same time...
Since he was doing that anyway with Dooku and Maul. And
yeah, exactly. But I would see it being more like making the child be more endeared to him instead of to his father, so that the kid would actually want to be with Palpatine and not with Vader. And Palpatine would use that against Vader as like, I have your kid, you can't do anything to me, or I'll kill your kid. But the kid not knowing that. Like that's what Palpatine's ultimately doing. Or even knowing it and just not caring. Because it depends on how endeared the child would become to Palpatine.
Yeah.
So, because Palpatine could be very manipulative.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bow before the Anakin bitch.
Well, it's not just that. He managed to manipulate the entire Senate.
That's not difficult.
Well, knowing all of the legal loopholes, that he needed to go through in order to get the things he wanted done.
He didn't need dark side powers for that.
Maybe. I don't know. He could have force manipulated people. He could have force manipulated key people to make them essentially do what he needed done.
Possible, but
I mean, we never actually see any of that happen, but it could have happened.
We do know that if you force push somebody mentally, that eventually they will come around to their own senses. So you have to manipulate.
Well, the thing is he
properly. In order to keep it.
He was a really good orator. Like, he was really good at manipulating.
Yeah, that's what I said. He was a good politician.
But he could have just as easily augmented that with the force. With force mind.
Possible.
Like,
it's possible.
He could have. The reason why people didn't come around to like a different way of thinking is because he made the way he was able to force manipulate them was making it very subtle, so that eventually they naturally just wanted to gravitate towards his way, a way he wanted them to think.
So Valorum's, or who was it? The
Valorum was kicked out.
I know, the bureaucrats who convinced Valorum, or suggested to Valorum, to not go with Naboo. Palpatine could have force manipulated them and not Valorum, because Valorum was a strong chancellor.
We don't know that, because really in the prequels we only see Valorum in the first one, and in the first one he doesn't really do a whole lot.
He's wishy-washy when we see him.
At best, yeah.
Now his ancestor
was much better, yeah. But regardless, this all stems from the fact of, like, if Anakin had beat Obi-Wan and Padme had lived, I could see Padme essentially becoming the originator of the rebellion.
I can see her as a very key.
Yeah.
Because she would still have connections with Bail, and Bail was still one of the first ones.
She would replace Leia as that kind of member of the Rebel Alliance.
And that would have been
may not have been as strong, though.
Well, so I guarantee you Vader would expect it. Same with Palpatine.
The reason I say that is because Leia went with Antilles.
Actually,
she was Alderaanian, which was a huge power to begin with. Naboo was not really a huge power.
Actually, it was.
She was very outspoken in the Senate.
Naboo was very powerful.
I'm talking about Naboo the planet, not her in particular.
Okay. Naboo the planet is very influential because not only is it where it's Palpatine's home planet, it's where the Emperor's retreat is. Mm-hmm. When the Emperor isn't ruling from the throne on Coruscant, he is living up the relaxing life on Naboo.
So how would she have been able to create a rebellion strong enough?
This is what I'm thinking. Anakin would lie to Palpatine and say that she's dead.
So again, Vader would have become a pussy.
Well, no, because he lies to Palpatine all the time.
Yeah, but it's different. He would still have Padme around,
but he wouldn't. No.
So that love would still be there.
He wouldn't have Padme,
and that would still be a soft
spot. He would have left her. That's what I'm saying.
But
he would have left her.
If he lies and says she's still alive, he still has feelings for her. So she's still a weakness for him.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's perfectly fine. Because at the end of 6, Luke is a weakness for Vader as well. Mm-hmm. that's why Vader switches back over to the light side. So essentially, you could just say the whole timeline would have corrected itself and been exactly how it was. It's just instead of Leia, it would be Padme.
Luke force manipulated Vader to kill Palpatine. It wasn't that he turned him to the good side.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Alright, I tried.
Yeah, no, it would have... Essentially, he would have left her, told Palpatine she's dead, because to him, she is dead.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really... Like,
from a certain point of view, she is dead.
Yeah?
So, he doesn't really give a shit. He would have taken the kids, and then he would have left her, and she would have probably just gone off and...
How could he take the kids if he left?
She literally gave birth to the kids right after he was cooked.
So, literally on Mustafar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would have had the kids.
Yeah.
And then him...
And then he would have just kicked her to the curb, and he would have taken the kids, and she
Why not just roll her down the hill?
Sure.
And she becomes Vader.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Except she was never force sensitive.
But it would be really cool if she had like the cybernetics. And
she was overly sensitive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most
and that seems to be working for Disney right now.
She was one of. Anyway, I feel like the whole thing would have gone. I feel like the timeline would have probably corrected itself to a certain degree, because things would have happened probably the same way that a lot of the movies would. Instead of like Leia and Luke, it would be like Padme.
But can you imagine like if Padme had like cybernetics and she can like have like a blaster come out of her arm?
I could see her turning into like
a bounty hunter.
Like Padme Fett?
Yes.
Not a Fett, but
Boba May. Boba May. I like Boba May.
No.
Yeah.
But regardless, she would have definitely she
would have ass.
Been. She was starting to go militant.
I can see her with an eye patch
anyway.
too. Like she lost an eye and everything like that.
She's she gets together with her chief security dude with the
other eye. You know, they have opposite patches.
Yeah.
Just imagine Sarah Connor, but in the Star Wars universe, that's Padme right there with cybernetic arms and everything. That would have been so badass.
I mean, I can't argue with that.
I'm trying to picture badass. Yes, does it work? No,
it could have.
No.
Have you seen the Natalie Portman raps?
Come with me if you want to live.
She's not like that, and she would have drastically changed personality-wise after what Vader...
Well, yeah, after the red eyes and the whole chromium skeleton and all that, yeah, she would change.
Have you seen the Natalie Portman raps?
Which is, yeah.
No,
she gets pretty hardcore in those. She's a very angry individual.
Now imagine if, instead of joining the rebellion, she joined Saw Gerrera's rebellion.
Well, Saw Gerrera's rebellion was like the beginning of the rebellion.
Yeah,
and then he dies.
Well, if it took that long to build it up to a point where people were actually starting to notice the rebellion, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm. And then she joins Saw, and then Saw dies, and so she initially takes over it.
Yeah, but Saw doesn't die until...
Yeah, but then Saw...
Episode 7.
Then Padme takes over it and all that stuff.
No, that's Rogue One.
Yeah, that's Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Padme takes over it, and then finally she realizes
well, except Mon Mothma was already there.
Not in Saw's alliance, no.
See, the thing is I don't see Padme going Saw's way. I see her being, like...
more diplomatic?
An intermediary, because she comes from a political background.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could see her training with Saw and becoming more militant that way, but then I could see her being the linchpin that holds Saw and Mon Mothma's rebellion, like those two halves of the rebellion.
Yeah.
I could see Padme
instead
being the
of
linchpin.
Jin, and then
it wasn't even Jin. Jin wasn't the linchpin that held them together because Saw died. Like they had already separated by that point.
She was trying to be the connective between the two.
No, she wasn't, because by that point they had already separated. Saw Gerrera was an errant rebellion thing at that point. She was
trying to get in contact with Saw.
That's because the rebellion needed information that Saw had. But the thing is that by that point those two halves had separated. Yeah. They'd been separated for years.
What you're saying is that
I'm saying is they never would have separated because Padme would have been the linchpin to hold them together.
Now imagine this. In Episode 6, you don't have Akbar, you had Padme at the helms. of it all.
There would still be an Akbar. Because Raditz was in Rogue One.
Still, but wouldn't that have been awesome, though?
No.
Why? Why?
No.
Why?
Because Padme's not a fucking admiral.
Akmar's badass.
Akbar is
Akbar.
badass. He doesn't die, does he?
Yeah.
He dies in episode 8.
He does. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does die.
When everyone gets
Well, I'm just saying
up.
he doesn't die in, like, the Holy Trinity.
Oh, yeah,
no.
He's alive at the end of 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's weird is the fact that he lives for another 30 fucking years.
They're fish, man. Well,
Fish don't live that long, bro.
Well, these fish do.
Apparently.
Is he more like an octopus?
No.
They are more like...
Or
They're
is he
squid.
Squid? Yeah.
No, they're octopus.
No, the squid are the
squid are those other guys.
Damn it.
We always forget
I
the
almost
name.
have the name. I can see the picture, but I can't.
I know, you can't see
Yeah.
it. They have the little,
They're-
triangle heads
Yep.
and everything, and no, can't see them. Quidditch?
No, Quidditch.
Quidditch?
Quidditch!
no, it starts with a Q. It's, damn it. Core something.
Yeah, I know, I don't know.
Links.
Yeah. He'll put it up, I'm sure. Or you'll put it up. One of you will.
One of us.
But yeah. I could see Padme essentially becoming the
A badass bounty hunter.
not a bounty hunter.
Okay,
she would
bounty
be
hunter like.
No.
Yes.
No.
She would have been.
He's literally
I
just
know
wanting her
what
to be
he's
like
doing.
a Mandalorian.
I know what
Yes!
What he
I
wants.
know exactly what he's doing.
And I could see her being militant like a Mandalorian, but not a bounty hunter.
With a butch haircut, she starts wearing plaid, that type of militant.
Yeah, like V for Vendetta version of Natalie Portman.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Where she like buzzes her head
Yeah.
and she get
I
like
could
she
do
just
that.
becomes all like angry and she has like a shit ton of weapons and cybernetics.
She didn't wear plaid in V for Vendetta.
No,
yeah.
but
Yeah. No, that would work.
And then she
I
would
could
have
see
like
that.
she could have like a shield on this side.
Would you shut up?
No, I'm playing this out. So
Alright.
she would have like a shield that would come out of this arm, and then she would have like a plasma gun coming out of this arm.
And then we'll call her Captain Padme.
sure.
Okay.
It would be Captain Amidala. Gotta get it right. Goodness gracious.
Captain.
Captain Pan. I like that. I'll go with that. Captain Pan. Alright, I'll see if I can do a link to that. That was good.
Captain.
Captain Pan.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting version of Star Wars that we.
Yeah.
But it would still. I feel like the events would still fairly well play out the way the movies had them, because time has a way of like even if you
Adjusting itself.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
putting it way back to the way things should be. Like people will still die. When they just won't die at the exact time that they're supposed to die. Stuff like that.
Okay.
I still feel like it would go that way. But,
And instead of Jin who dies on Scarif, it could have been Padme. That'd be good.
or not.
No.
No, because Padme's not dumb enough to do that.
No.
Let Jin do that.
Padme's the one that picks up the Emperor and throws him over the edge.
No, it's still Vader. Because the way it would work out is she would manipulate. She would manage to like appeal to that aspect of Vader after all these years, and she probably would appeal to the kids too in some way as well.
Hey asshole, you banged me. I popped out your kid. You're going to do this for me? Type
No,
thing?
not quite like that. But she would appeal to like
you owe me
his
child support
lovey-dovey.
or some shit.
No, she would like appeal to his lovey-dovey aspect because he still has feelings for her. Hence, why she's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
after all these years, she would be like, I still love you, like, help me.
It could have
with
rekindled
this.
their relationship.
And then like maybe one of the kids would probably recognize that Padme is the mom, and she managed to manipulate the kid through, emotions or whatever.
And then she becomes Empress.
I don't think she would go that route. I absolutely not, considering I believe Mon Mothma would still be in charge of the rebellion.
Mon Mothma would become the Emperor. I could see that.
But she didn't.
She could have.
Yeah, she could have. Well, it's just like George Washington. When George Washington
He didn't become Emperor.
No,
when
but
he first like liberated America, like when he was in charge of all of that, and they were done kicking the English out of America, they asked him to be the king. of America.
And he said
And
no.
he said no.
Exactly. He could have been.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with
All right,
this, like,
yeah.
conspiracy.
I was waiting for, and he became king for this much time. Backhand your
No. He didn't.
They also
But
have
we're talking
lightsabers.
about hypotheticals. Like, Mon Mothma could have, but she didn't. Just like George Washington. He could have, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Akbar would have made a good emperor.
No.
No.
He was... He's just a grumpy fish.
Exactly.
No, he wouldn't have been a good emperor.
It would have been great.
You don't need any more emperors. Bitch.
Imagine if he, like, if Akbar was, like...
Is it important?
No, I didn't think it. I just tried.
So imagine if Akbar was the emperor and everything, and he would have a rancor pit, and then when people stand over it, it's like, it's a trap! And then he would just fall down, and the rancor would eat him.
So he's merging Jabba the Hutt and...
You don't need to translate that,
Just so you can say it's a trap more!
You're fucking dumb.
Yes, I am!
But anyway, alright, so...
Yeah.
I think we've adequately covered that topic.
I hope so.
What else do we
Sarah
got?
caught a
What
bat.
else do we got? What else do we got?
Alright.
What do you got?
Bomar monks, what do you guys know about them?
Who, what?
Bomar monks.
That's what I said.
What do we know about Bomar monks?
Aren't those the monks that were in Jabba's palace?
Yes.
Cool.
Is that all you know about them?
No, they separate
Okay.
themselves from
Let
emotion.
me revisit the topic.
Okay.
What do you know about the Bomar monks?
They separate themselves from emotion, I think.
From who?
Emotion. They separate themselves from emotion,
Okay.
and when they went and they, what is it?
And all physical things. Well, they try to essentially become as aesthetic as possible.
Pretty?
Aesthetic is in like...
They
don't want
that
anything.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, got it.
They don't... They want for nothing physical. They're very mental beings, so that's why they eventually elevate themselves to the point where they just...
Remove their brains and put them inside of spiders.
that keep the brain alive. That way they can effectively live forever and think about reality, I guess.
Alright, so, about 700 BBY,
Okay.
the Bomar monks,
Before the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
700?
700,
Okay.
they went to Tatooine.
They went to Tatooine.
They went to Tatooine. They didn't
Willingly.
start out there. Yeah.
Why?
I know!
Why?
I know.
Everything
Well, probably-
important happens on Tatooine. Anyway,
Probably
so.
because you were close. They wanted to deprive themselves of all physical sensation.
There's
Yeah, there you go.
nothing attached.
Because
There's a lot of heat.
to do that, the reason to do that is it was their belief that that would help them achieve enlightenment. So they go to Tatooine, about 700 BBY,
Okay.
and they build this temple. This is where we're going to achieve enlightenment. Like everybody else is, you guys are fucking stupid. It's hot here. Go away.
At that point, I imagine there's very little except for a couple of
The
cities.
cantina, maybe.
No,
That
Mos
hadn't
Eisley,
even been around yet.
Mos Eisley is still around.
Was it
Yeah.
that early?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
several cities, because they're in the Old Republic in KOTOR.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
There's several cities.
Alright. So, what they do is, in order to remove this physical sensation, they cut off the brains. Now, what's interesting about this is there were some that wanted to move a little faster with the whole Enlightenment thing. Didn't quite get to the point where physical sensation no longer bothered them. So when the surgeon went in and removed the brain, they went batshit crazy.
Yeah, because if you remove all sensation whatsoever from the human brain,
When they're not ready for it.
it loses its fucking
Absolutely
mind.
batshit. So the BT-16 perimeter droids, those are the spider things,
Mm-hmm.
they would take the monk brain and put it into the spider brain, or spider droid, so they could move around the temple. For the most part, they didn't do that. They were put in a jar and put up on a shelf so they could think about reality. That was their idea of enlightenment.
Is to be a brain in a jar.
For thousands of years. That would drive me crazy.
Well, to be fair,
I need to be able to smack people.
If you got to the point where you were a brain in a jar, you wouldn't really care about smacking people anymore.
Well, that's true.
And it wouldn't drive you crazy. Yeah.
But I can't imagine doing that. There's got to be better ways to achieve enlightenment than...
Everyone has their own idea on how to achieve enlightenment.
Would you have your brain carved out so you could achieve enlightenment?
I like my probably 60 years of living.
To be fair,
So
You?
60
Maybe
years.
45.
I'm giving myself 60.
I'll give you 45.
to be fair, if you wanted to feel any kind of stimulation, a doctor could easily just, like take a needle and stick it into your brain and pluck the pleasure centers, or whatever. Because literally all emotions that you feel are just...
Doctor, can you stroke my brain for a minute?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any in a while.
Like every 100 years or something like that, they go in and they just go
brain.
dunk dunk, and you essentially have like a artificial orgasm.
Mental orgasm?
Yeah, that's what it would be.
You would get all the sensations and everything just without the body. Because all sensation is just nerve signals being sent to the brain, and the brain interpreting them.
Yeah, I would absolutely hate that. Being in a jar.
You wouldn't have any eyes. You wouldn't be able to see anything.
I know.
It's all in your head.
Yeah, I don't want to be
Well,
in my
at
head.
that point, the brain had progressed enough, the mental abilities had progressed enough, that they probably had some semblance of vision. But it's not anything that we would understand, because there's no actual physical eyes or anything.
Yeah,
So
they're just perceiving through...
whatever their enlightenment
Vibrations.
status gives
Pretty
them.
much. It would be like vibrations.
Not even that, because there's no physical sensation.
Yeah, there isn't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're seeing reality on a whole different
So
plane of existence.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, they could do, like, what bats do.
Echolocation, that's
Yeah.
sound.
It's still physical sensation. There would be none of that.
I wonder if they communicate, like...
Yes, they do communicate. There are some that communicate telepathically.
Okay.
I didn't say that all of them were able to do it, but some that achieved enlightenment were able to. So you could talk, but the speaking got to a point where it was only images, and only the monks understood what the images meant. Anybody who came in and saw these images would have no clue, which makes sense. Because if you're working on a completely different reality level, we're not going to know what the hell they're doing.
It's like, what do you call it? A person who only, like, grew up with, like, cell phones. They don't understand... The fuck was it called?
Rotary phones?
Nope.
Push button
No,
phones?
do. I can't think of it.
Oh, Telegram.
Yeah.
Dude. See, you guys, you're on a different reality level than
I understand what you're saying.
Exactly, that's why you sit in between us, because you can translate this shit.
Well, I'm just
But that's
not
what...
gonna say anything.
Like a person, like, okay, going back to George Washington, he would have no clue how to figure out a cell phone.
Yeah, no.
I almost died right there, see? Maybe not 45 years.
Countdown begins now.
It's the final countdown.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put the fucking song on. You guys sing it.
No, it has to, like... Anyways.
But yeah, no, Boomer monks, real weird dudes.
Now, here's
Everyone
another...
tries to find enlightenment, though.
Here's another interesting one.
Alright.
With the monks, there was one, since it goes back to the movies, there was one called Grimpen. He was a monk who worked for Jabba. And he actually worked for Jabba. And he would take the criminals' brains, or Jabba's not subjects, but captives. He would take their brains and place them in other people. Now, why this never showed up in the movies, I don't know, because that would have been cool. But I thought that was really interesting. I'll see if I can find an image for the monk.
So this crazy Bomar monk
worked for Jabba
and would take random people's brains and put them in other people.
Criminals or captives is what it says.
And just put them in other people?
Just put them in somebody else.
What did he do with that other person's brain?
I have no idea. It didn't say. It drove me nuts.
They probably just switched the bodies. Just
it could have.
It was like Freaky Friday.
It could have been a delicacy for Jabba. I don't know.
It could have been Freaky Friday. That'd be hilarious.
Put them in the frogs. Put pieces of the brains in the frogs.
Swap out frog brains.
Be interesting.
Put a frog brain in a Twi'lek.
I could see that.
That'd be weird.
Put several frog brains in a Twi'lek.
Be loud inside.
Frogs don't think. They don't have higher functioning. Frogs do not have higher functioning thoughts.
They still are able to think.
Well, with their animalistic.
They're not able to. Well, they do communicate with each other, but not telepathically.
No, it's usually through pheromones and the croak. Yeah,
it would literally probably just sit there and not know what to do because it would be multiple brains communicating to the body at once, and so the body would just shut
just
down.
twitching all over.
No, it would be Twitch plays.
Yeah, pretty much. It would be Twitch plays whatever. It would be Twitch plays a Twi'lek.
Yeah. It would be Twitch plays a Twi'lek.
That would be interesting.
Where it's
I'd like
100 different people, and they're half of them are saying turn left, and the other half are saying sit down.
So it's turning left and also sitting down at the same time.
Looks like breakdancing.
That is not breakdancing. You gotta get more beat in there.
She might, you don't know.
It is frog brains, so maybe.
Yeah, you don't know. But that's interesting. Bomar monks are interesting. I don't like the fact that there are some crazy ones. That's kind of scary.
You're gonna have to be crazy. There's gotta be a few crazies.
Well, the crazy ones that are in these spider droids. Because, the not crazy ones are pretty much in a room at the basement of the fucking temple that are just in brains in jars.
Yeah. And apparently those monks were all over Jabba's palace.
The ones in the spider droids or the ones in the jars?
The ones in the jars and the ones that hadn't reached Enlightenment yet. They were all over. They were still there. When Jabba moved in, they were all still there. They just let him do his thing and they did theirs.
Well, that's because Jabba didn't bother them because they were jars.
Yeah.
They just a shelf over here, and that's 5 of them. Okay.
I wonder if he had any of the brains up.
I wonder if he did some real freaky shit in front of him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just to
I'm sure.
Or he named a few of them. So this one's Bob, this one's Karen.
This
and he would talk.
Futurama comes to mind. Right
this
now.
one's Abby Normal.
Terrible. No, it's like Futurama, man.
Yeah,
it's they got
with the presidents and everything.
Leonard Nimoy.
Yep.
Yeah. You got all the brains in the jars, except they had faces and eyes, but these brains, they don't. They're just brains
in a jar.
That's all they are.
It's a terrible way to exist. It seems.
It seems to us, but if we have no perception of any sensation at all, what difference
actually
would we
really
know?
nice and quiet.
Yeah. Imagine putting them in a Sith temple and see how the dark side influences
That would
them.
be interesting. Ooh. I'll have to look into that.
Or the light side. You could put them in a Jedi temple and see how the light side influences
Just see how they...
how the Force would influence
some way
them.
We need some way to translate their images, their thought patterns into something we would understand.
Just get C-3PO to it, because he understands a whole bunch of languages. Maybe he understands more than that imagery.
We'll see.
We have to
First and
ask him
foremost,
first.
C-3PO doesn't have an actual brain. So they can't telepathically project the images into C-3PO's brain, because he doesn't have one. He's a robot.
Well, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to get Lobot in there now.
Well, alright then.
Alrighty then!
That's it for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for now.
Okay. Thanks for joining us on the BlueMilk Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe. On YouTube, follow us and like us and share us on Facebook.
Yep.
Thumbs down the video.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're still doing that.
Yeah,
Thumbs
we are.
down video. Thumb down. We're doing hashtag thumbs down. Be sure to thumbs down the videos, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Also follow us on Twitter, Reddit, and
Facebook.
Well, we already did
Yeah.
Facebook.
Well, I was just letting you guys know Facebook, we have exclusive stuff there, so
Yes.
watch the commercials,
Yeah.
watch the upcoming stuff that we're going to be putting on there. Oh, are we announcing it? Are we doing it? We're doing it. We're doing it, guys.
Probably, maybe this week, maybe next week. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I will be starting a new segment called BlueMilk Rant and Rave, where I'll be trying to keep you guys updated on the week's worth of
Star Wars.
Yeah. We'll try to get a little more current with shit. It's not going to affect the episodes at all.
No, it's like a weekend review
Yeah.
of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anything and everything Star Wars related, actually.
Oh boy.
So it could be.
It's going to be him ranting
the
about
latest
Disney.
Star Wars.
I'm probably just going to go off on something.
He's going to
We'll
be
see.
ranting about Disney a lot.
It appears that way, yes. I will try to do different things and not focus solely on Disney. But
You got EA.
so anyway, look forward to that.
Anywho, thanks for joining us. And yeah, do all that stuff. Doodles!
Guitars.
Come to the dark side.